at 10.
I will uphold our precious right to dissent, but burning the flag goes too far.
President Bush fires off a new round in his flag campaign, saying he'll push to change the Constitution to outlaw desecration of the American flag. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from Washington. Good evening. Summer heat and pre-4th of July political fireworks here in the nation's capital about the flag. President Bush came out today for changing the Constitution to, in effect, nullify last week's Supreme Court decision. A high court ruling that found burning the American flag is a constitutionally protected form of protest. Mr. Bush denies his stand today is motivated by any partisan politics. CBS News White House correspondent Leslie Stahl begins our coverage of patriotism, politics, and the flag flap of '89.
Loving the flag is good politics. Candidate George Bush proved it when he visited a flag factory during the campaign, attacked Michael Dukakis on the Pledge of Allegiance, and won the election. Today, President George Bush called for a constitutional amendment to reverse the Supreme Court's decision protecting flag burning.
The flag of the United States should never be the object of desecration. Flag burning is wrong.
Not to be burned again on the flag issue, Democrats raced to the House floor today.
Americans who want to burn the American flag should consider moving to Iran, China, or Cuba, where burning the American flag is not only legal, but encouraged.
Talking tough about Old Glory, a truly bipartisan exercise.
Mr. Speaker, as evident, I'm not a very big guy, but as a combat veteran of World War II, to those who would choose to desecrate the flag, they better not try to do it in my presence.
With polls showing overwhelming public outrage, it's hard to find any politician agreeing with the Supreme Court, but there are a few.
I think it's bizarre that we're talking now about putting in jail people who criticize the government.
No one likes desecration, but this just seems to me an exercise in silliness and even a little bit of hypocrisy.
Democratic political consultants were more specific. They attacked the president.
But if anybody has desecrated the flag in the last 18 months, it was George Bush during the course of the '88 campaign. I mean, Bush is the person who took the flag from being a symbol of national unity and turned it into a symbol of partisan division.
I think respect for the flag transcends political party. And I think what I've said here is American. It isn't Republican or Democrat. It isn't liberal or conservative.
With so many Democrats and Republicans jumping on the flag bandwagon, it's hard to see how a constitutional amendment can fail. Dan?
Thank you, Leslie. Joining us is our chief Washington correspondent, Bob Schieffer. Bob and Leslie, where does this go from here? How does it play itself out?
Well, as you can guess, Dan, the flag burners lobby is not too strong here in Washington, so a lot of politicians, most of the politicians in this town are trying to get on this bandwagon. I think at last count there were 41 co-sponsors for a constitutional amendment in the Senate, over 100 in the House, 25 pieces of legislation already have been proposed, so it is a very popular issue up on the Hill. At the same time, there are those like House Speaker Tom Foley who are saying, wait, let's not talk about changing the Bill of Rights for the first time in 200 years in a period of high emotion. Let's go through the normal procedures about it. So there are some voices saying let's slow it down a bit, but it is a very popular issue.
But Leslie, that would not be the position at the White House, that they need to slow it down a bit.
No, absolutely not. The president learned in the campaign that this is an issue that works for him. What he also did in the campaign was take a visual symbol, the flag, and make it synonymous with patriotism. He did it in the campaign. No one's going to undo it. And to talk about constitutional sort of details is going to be very difficult for anybody.
Of course, that's what the Constitution is about.
But
details.
it's hard.
When you say made the flag synonymous with patriotism, you also made it synonymous with voting for the Republican candidate.
Indeed, and he learned that lesson, Dan, and he's not going to unlearn it.
Now, there are a few voices saying, wait a minute, as you pointed out, Bob, but are there going to be very many? Frankly, from the outside in the early hours, it just looks like this is a steamroller going downhill and nobody is going to stop it or try very hard.
Well, Congressman Don Edwards of California, who's on the Constitutional Subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee, said today that if both houses voted today, they would vote overwhelmingly for a constitutional amendment. His hope is that by scheduling hearings, by going through the normal and orderly process, hearing from constitutional experts and so on, that there can be a more thoughtful consideration of this whole issue, and that's what they plan to do after the 4th of July, to hold hearings on this. So we won't have anything, any real action until then, at least.
He has learned, as I said, that this is a golden issue for him, and he's going to stay to the right of everybody on it.
Leslie and Bob, thanks. The flag, as an object of respect or protest, has been generating arguments of law and emotion for decades. President Bush's campaign now to get the Constitution changed in order to prosecute people who desecrate the flag is a crowd pleaser. Polls conducted since the Supreme Court's ruling last week indicate overwhelming American support for a constitutional amendment. CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton has more on rallying round the flag issue.
The flag stirs Americans' deepest emotions. War veteran Joseph Crowley's many flags honor his fellow veterans.
The flag is probably the greatest symbol of America. That there will ever be.
He thinks the Supreme Court was wrong. Leon Golub did this painting napalm flag as part of a protest against the Vietnam War. He thinks the flag is a symbol, positive or negative, that all Americans can use.
Someone who uses the flag symbolically in a different sense is really making the flag live again.
That is not the view in Findlay, Ohio, which calls itself Flag City, USA. Today, one flag flew at half-mast, and they're planning a rally for Thursday protesting the court decision.
The message to the Supreme Court is that we wholeheartedly oppose that ruling, that the American flag should be left out of a ruling of, freedom of speech.
Where do you draw the line? The Vietnam War brought out a lot of controversies over the flag. Was putting a peace symbol on the flag wrong? Desecration. The Supreme Court said no. Was wearing the flag? It appeared on a lot of blue jeans bottoms in those years. The court said no again. In a sense, the argument isn't about wearing the flag. Nobody minded when Barbara Bush wore it Inauguration Week or when a New York designer used it in his clothes. The argument isn't about burning either. A 1943 law says that when flags like these wear out, they should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably by burning. The argument is about politics and protest. The California State Assembly has already argued.
I cannot personally tolerate the notion that anyone can with impunity desecrate the flag of this United States of America.
Our country is strong not because we defend people's rights who are right, but because we are strong enough to defend the rights of those who are wrong.
You can argue what's right, but there's no question what's politically popular. The Assembly voted to outlaw flag burning 58-2. That tells you which way the wind is blowing. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
I'll be back in a moment from our Washington studio with the rest of today's news.
Life without cholesterol. I mean, how much lettuce can one man endure? Give up the best things in life. What's left?
New Miracle Whip cholesterol-free dressing. Same tangy zip as Miracle Whip and absolutely no cholesterol. So you get all the taste and none of the cholesterol.
I do?
New Miracle Whip cholesterol-free. Now the best things in life are cholesterol-free.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Incredible. Patients come in, they don't even tell me they smoke. It's only after I examine them that I find out they're trying to quit.
Yeah, you know what I tell them? It's an addiction to nicotine. You need treatment. Today we can treat nicotine addiction.
Patients don't know that. They just don't know that.
Well, it's a shame they don't come to us.
Yeah.
See your doctor. On July 5th, declare your freedom from smoking.
Getting out and enjoying yourself. That's what life is all about. And it's easy when you have the best bladder control protection. Depend Undergarments has special layers of absorbency that won't bunch or sag, and elastic legs for a better fit. They're the best protection and the best way for you to get back into life. Hey!
Get back into life with Depend.
A setback for prosecutors in a key test of the ethics in government law today. A federal appeals court here in Washington overturned the ethics conviction of Lynn Nofziger. He's the former Ronald Reagan White House top political aide who had turned himself into a lobbyist. Nofziger was convicted of illegally making money by lobbying his old contacts in government. Today, the Federal Appeals Court ruled the government failed to prove that Nofziger was aware his conduct was criminal. Breast cancer is the most common cancer among women in the United States, and it is second only to lung cancer as a cancer killer among American women. Mammogram screening is an effective way of detecting breast cancer early, but there has been confusion, in the opinion of doctors, about who should get a mammogram and when. Today, physicians move to try to settle some of that confusion. Our medical correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
Each year, 1 in 10 American women finds out she has breast cancer. In 1987, Alma August was among them. She had a mastectomy.
I'm one of those that didn't have a mammogram when I should have.
Having a mammogram today is safer than smoking half a cigarette, and early detection dramatically improves the odds in breast cancer. And yet,
for women 40 and over, only 17% had had mammograms in the past year, and only 37% had ever had a mammogram.
The experts say that may be because women have been confused by conflicting medical advice. To clarify things once and for all, a coalition of doctors from 11 medical organizations today issued new guidelines on who should have a mammogram and when. They recommended that women 50 and older get a mammogram and a complete physical exam once a year, and that women 40 to 45 get both once every 2 years. 43,000 American women die annually from breast cancer. The panel predicted that timely mammograms would change that.
I think the impact would be at least a 30% decrease in mortality rate from breast cancer.
A mammogram can help save a woman's life.
When one famous person has breast cancer, women do rush in for mammograms in droves. Those who've been there hope these new guidelines will have the same effect.
It's something that has to be done today, not tomorrow, because a lot of my problems would not have been my problems had I not put it off.
Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
New early skirmishing over defense spending. The House Armed Services Committee voted tonight to cut President Bush's proposed Star Wars missile defense budget by $1 billion. Also, a vote to rescue funding for the new Osprey helicopter plane by cutting some money out of the big stealth bomber budget. A federal judge in Charleston, West Virginia today ordered almost 43,000 coal miners in 9 states to end a wildcat strike and return to work. The miners walked out in support of some 1,900 United Mine workers who went on strike against Pittston Coal Group on April 5th. Late today, the union said it never had sanctioned the work stoppages and urged members back to their jobs.
I'm dead tired. So why am I wide awake?
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Nitol helps you feel drowsy so you can get your Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Financial serenity, the confidence to spread your wings. The Travelers gives 1 out of every 6 Americans this financial peace of mind, with a broad horizon of growth opportunities and the overriding promise of insurance protection. The Travelers, you're better off under the umbrella.
I used to take ibuprofen. Ibuprofen irritated my stomach sometimes. When I went to my doctor told me that Tylenol would not cause the stomach irritation that ibuprofen can. He recommended that I start using Tylenol, and I went to Tylenol. I got very good results. I got relief from my headache.
Debbie Eckert trusts Tylenol. Its pain reliever is in a class by itself.
I'm not going to experiment with any other types of pain relief medications.
What a relief. The doctor said no surgery for my hemorrhoids.
That's great.
Yeah, they're not that serious. He said use Preparation H.
You can often relieve pain and itch for hours and help shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues with Preparation H, also a new cream.
In Cincinnati today, summaries of organized baseball's case against Pete Rose were selling like hot dogs at $30 a copy. And some people were even paying $230 for the complete 8-volume account of Rose's alleged gambling habits. What they got, as correspondent Frank Courier now reports, was a sordid view of inside baseball.
They went on sale today at the courthouse in Cincinnati. First public copies of baseball's 225-page report on Pete Rose. Inside the exhibits, a string of startling accusations by former Rose associates who describe the image of a compulsive gambler, deep in debt, obsessed with betting on his own game. Convicted felon Paul Jensen, who says he placed most of Rose's bets during 1987, told investigators on game days Rose would sit in the clubhouse and phone other major league managers to get a read on various pitchers and fielders, to try to get as much information as he could about a game before deciding on bets. According to Jansen, Rose once said, "If I had enough money riding on a game, I'd think about throwing the game. There's lots of easy ways to do it," he said. "I could pinch hit a guy or hit and run at the wrong time." Investigators say there's no evidence Rose ever fixed a ball game. Betting slips provided by Jansen, along with phone records and canceled checks signed by Rose, are part of a long paper trail of bets so huge, Rose is said to have run up a $400,000 debt to a New York bookie in just 3 months. Rose and his gambling, Jansen said, were like a runaway locomotive. Bookmaker Ron Peters, he said, at one point owed Rose $50,000. When it wasn't paid promptly, Jansen quoted Rose, "Go up there, take a gun if you have to, get my money." Jansen associate Randy Kaiser said Rose wanted to go after Peters' child, saying, quote, "Scare him about that kid. You've got to get the kid, got to hurt the kid." Rose insists Jansen's claims are part of a blackmail attempt, including death threats to his family. In the report, Jansen says he was ordered never to tell Rose's wife about his losses. For each time she'd find out he lost $10,000, Jansen said, she'd go out and spend another $10,000 at the shopping mall, just to get even. Frank Turrier, CBS News, Cincinnati.
Never a full hurricane, downgraded to a tropical depression, Tropical Storm Allison wandered into Louisiana today, but it was still powerful enough to spin off a tornado and dump heavy rains on the region. And before this slow-moving storm finally moved out of Texas, it left at least one person dead and widespread damage. James Hattori reports.
Roadways turned to waterways, engulfing cars and buses as Tropical Storm Allison moved onshore. It rained 10 inches in 24 hours in Houston, flooding bayous and creeks and other low-lying areas.
Oh, we've lived out here 30 years and we've never had water like this deep.
It rained all night. I don't know. I stayed in the house and I had to bring my little animals in because it was gushing through my garage.
The floodwaters swept away 7-year-old Latricia Reese. She spent 15 hours clinging to the inside of a storm sewer. Rescue crews searched for her last night but gave up. 2 construction workers found her this morning.
Well, grabbed 2 cracks of the cement.
Grabbed a hold of some cement and held on.
And they just, didn't give me no hope for her. But she's here.
Because the storm never reached hurricane strength, residents along the Gulf Coast weren't expecting major damage. But there was a deluge until winds slowly pushed the storm on.
Slow-moving, weak tropical storm, like the one we experienced, you may get 10, 15, 20 inches of rain.
And while Allison continues weakening and moving northeast, South Texans still inundated can only wait and wade. James Hattori, CBS News, Houston.
After you've produced the yearly report in record time and made color part of your winning proposal, you'll know why Canon is the most popular copier in America. From personal to color laser copying, the choice is Canon.
Now, new scientific tests prove Heart's Blockade Repellent gives your pet total protection against fleas and ticks, or your money back. Unsolicited, here's what some satisfied Blockade users have told us.
I have never been quite so pleased with an over-the-counter flea product. Blockade is effective and does exactly what it promises to do.
Thanks for Heart's Blockade. It's everything you say. My cat has been flea-free all summer.
Heart's Blockade, guaranteed flea and tick protection that really works.
This is John Overly, and this is his farm. It's the Benjamin Moore Paint Farm. Out here, John tests thousands of Benjamin Moore paints to make sure they'll withstand years of sun and cold, rain and snow without cracking, peeling, or fading. These tests help make Benjamin Moore the only paint good enough for the Reynolds family and their new home. They wouldn't settle for anything less, would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer.
This man takes vacations for a living. Don't let him take yours. So don't carry cash. Carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
Another first in Soviet politics today, Premier Nikolai Ryzhkov yielded to pressure and said he will withdraw the names of 6 of his cabinet nominees. They had been rejected by committees of the new elected legislature. That left only 4 of the communist government's choices still under consideration. A Soviet military newspaper today reported the death of a former U.S. Navy intelligence analyst who defected to Moscow last year. As Winston Churchill once said of the Soviet Union, the man's life was a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. Pentagon correspondent David Martin tells us about it.
Glenn Michael Souther, seen here on Soviet television, died at 32. But he left behind a trail of mystery that will be grist for an entire generation of spy novels. Was he simply a defector, as he claimed?
Моя единственная вина заключалась в том, что свои убеждения и интересы я рассматривал как свое естественное право. ФБР считало иначе. Меня стали преследовать, лишили будущего, замахнулись на мою свободу.
Or was he a spy recruited by the Soviets while serving as an intelligence specialist in the U.S. Navy? That's what the FBI thought when he fled to the Soviet Union in 1986. Or was Glenn Michael Souther that most exotic of all espionage creatures, what experts call an illegal, a Soviet citizen infiltrated into the U.S. as a boy to masquerade as an American? That's what a Soviet newspaper implied today when it announced that Souther was a, quote, staff member of the KGB whose real name was Mikhail Yevgenyevich Orlov. That does not seem all that far-fetched to the man who taught him Russian in college.
And I must admit that I have suspicion that it may be true that he has been planted.
And if that isn't mystery enough, the Soviets left dangling the question of why he died so young.
I'm not sure. It says here that he died.
Yeah, Newsday.
The reason was sudden death.
Was it natural causes or perhaps suicide? A young man facing a bleak future in the Soviet Union. That's what he sounded like when he told a Soviet interviewer, "I haven't found my niche yet."
Whatever he was, however he died, Glenn Michael Souther was one that got away. U.S. officials say his ex-wife was the first to warn authorities he might be a spy, but they failed to follow up on the tip. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
9 more people were placed on show trial in Beijing today. They are charged with rioting during China's pro-freedom, pro-democracy movement. In Shanghai, authorities were investigating a new explosion that killed 24 people on a passenger train. State-run television said dynamite exploded in a train toilet. Last week, 3 men were executed in Shanghai for setting fire to a train after that train had rammed demonstrators.
Got a nice minty taste to it.
That's good.
Can you say that about your liquid antacid? If not, taste Tums Liquid.
It has a nice taste to it. It's delicious. Tums tastes the best.
Tums Liquid. It works, and it really tastes good.
There's only one leader in light trucks today. That's Ford. Ford leads in the important advantages that Chevy can't talk about. In standard 6-cylinder engines, Ford beats Chevy in torque power, and nobody beats Ford's V8s in load-pulling horsepower. Powerful reasons like this make Ford the leader with the most repeat buyers of any light truck line. See your dealer now for special savings on select 89 Ford F-Series trucks.
You don't have to be a professional athlete to know the importance of including whole grains in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties has the whole grain nutrition you want, no matter what field you're in. Just ask Oral Hershiser. Better get your whole grain.
Better eat your Wheaties.
Let's try it on.
We interrupt this shopping trip. Charge it. To remind you the Discover card pays you cash back for every charge.
Super, Dad.
It pays to Discover.
This is no California dreamin'. Just 2 decades ago, California and New York were competing to see which would be the most populous state in the Union. California won. 10 million more people live in California now than in New York. And since the 1980 census, California has added the population equivalent of a Maryland or a Minnesota. California now has more people than Canada or all of Scandinavia. So many people, reports David Browning, that some of them are moving out.
Ever since moving pictures were invented, the travelogues and the newsreels and the movies have spread the seductive message, come to California.
I wanted to see some of the lovely homes of the stars. Joe voted for the beach.
A land of sun and stars and the open road. Now, so many have bought the message, the place is all but filled up.
Everybody's coming here. You just keep putting more and more people in a box, and after a while, it gets to be real uncomfortable.
California's population is now 28.5 million and counting, and very uncomfortable. Polls now show sizable numbers who look on the state as paradise lost.
We saw a big drop in the proportion of the California public, people who already live here, saying that it's one of the best places to live.
Other surveys agree that with the smog, the crime, overcrowding, traffic, Californians believe the state is being spoiled, and fast.
It was so beautiful, and you could ride your bike along the ocean side, and there was no housing developments and things.
Tori Furnish remembers the quiet, uncrowded days. Now, she and her mother, Marilyn Lee, are about to kiss California goodbye and move to Washington State with no regrets.
I'm meant to get my family out, so I think the timing is right, and it's time to go.
The population pressures are greatest around Los Angeles, but they're felt too around San Francisco.
The cost of homes out here are becoming out of this world, and people just don't have a good place to, an affordable place to live.
In the suburbs of both San Francisco and Los Angeles, ordinary tract houses are going for $300,000 and up.
Bet you in 10 years' time, there won't be any elderly or retired people in the state of California. They really can't afford to be.
Jan and Bob Lucas won't be here. They're retiring to a lakefront house in Minnesota they bought for $38,000, which wouldn't even buy them a vacant lot in Los Angeles.
It just got to the point one day where I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And we're leaving. And I put my little girl in an airplane and sent her to relatives in the Midwest, and I'll be driving out of here this weekend.
Judith Wilson is packing up too.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting out. And I really feel sorry for the people that want to get out and can't do it.
But the irony is there are still far more people moving into California, Asian immigrants, Latin American immigrants, job seekers from points east, far more newcomers than there are people moving out.
Everything is telling us that Southern California is going to continue to expand. It's been the biggest job machine in the United States for 50 or 60 years. In the 80s, everything is pointing towards continued expansion.
Are that many people really coming into this area? And if they are, there's no room for me anymore. I can't breathe sometimes.
So, Judith Wilson left California for Florida. Chances are, on the way, she passed some newcomers headed into the state, looking for the sun and the stars and the open road. David Browning, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting this evening from Washington. See you tomorrow. Good night.
This is CBS.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Clark, and coming up next on Eyewitness News, this is the scene at the Metro Courthouse where it is Decision Day for the Metro budget. It may not be